Hello! Welcome to GameGuru Classic and GameGuru Max broadcast number 140. A special welcome to those joining us live in the live chat, who are probably already typing out their questions. For newcomers and those who need a gentle reminder, this broadcast is split into two sections. The first part is a little demo section, and then the second part is Q&A, where I can provide some answers to your burning questions. If you are joining us in the live chat, just stick a question mark at the end, please, because I scroll through rather quickly and I'm only looking for question marks. That way I can hopefully get through all of the questions and everyone gets an answer during the live session. So that's the general format of the thing. And right off the bat in the first section, that we're going to demo something. Not much really happening in the GameGuru Classic repo right now. However, there are a couple of discounts that I quickly looked up, and quite a lot actually. As you can see, some super generous. There are 75% around at the top and 85%, 84% underneath. Obviously, the larger discounts are like for like 20, 25 products. But if you're interested in looking at GameGuru Classic for a super bargain, then you don't have to look very far. Just go into Steam and type out GameGuru Classic and you'll find it. But I imagine many of you have tuned in to learn what's going on in GameGuru Maxland, so let's go there now. Okay, I haven't been reading the comments since last Wednesday. However, I have heard anecdotally and through emails that everyone enjoyed last week's broadcast, which covered quite a lot of role-playing game RPG elements. I'm pleased to report that that's pretty much, at least for version 1, tied off. Now, there's a few other things that need going in, a few last-minute improvements to scripts, little tweaks here and there just to create a nice, smooth experience. And one thing that wasn't demonstrated last week, and a lot of work has gone in since, is the concept of multi-level. Now, for the longest time, we're talking months and months, most of the testing and stuff has been around single levels. And once we've got a single level working great, then it will be easy then to tag on a 2-level game, a 3-level game, a 5-level game. But transitioning from level to level, traditionally has always been a bit of a, well, in the past maybe you could have some storage which remembers what weapon you were carrying and your health. Well, with RPG, you have to store a gargantuan amount of game data. All the objects you've collected, where objects were, what was the state of the level when you left it, only to return to that same level later on. So that's where a lot of the work has been going, to create a game data structure that could store and preserve those states, both from a player perspective and from a general level perspective. And that's the work that's been done and tested. So you'd be pleased to hear now that you could create 3, 4, 5-level RPG game and indiscriminately move between those levels and all the states are preserved. And of course the ability to save and load your game progress, as you may have seen many moons ago with the load game and save game features of Standalone. Now, speaking of Standalone, I've already launched GameGuru Max. I'm going to click on this button. You may notice a few changes if you were used to the Save Standalone feature. And it's, again, due to popular request. We've now removed the splash screen that we asked people to submit a little form, and if your product was really cool, then maybe we'd remove the splash screen for you. No one actually got that far into the process. But I think we're pretty confident now that by removing the splash screen, it will satisfy those users who don't want it in the first place, and to show you the direction GameGuru Max is going, which of course is you don't really want a splash screen. I think the free version of Unity still forces a Unity watermark at the start of anything you export. No such thing in GameGuru Max. When you click the Save Standalone button, it will create an executable, and that executable has no markers to say it was written in GameGuru Max, and there is no requirements for you to put a marker there. You'll also notice that we've put this new option in, Save with Virtual Reality Mode. That's because what also we've been working on since last Wednesday is completing the first version of the VR support. So I can report. I'm not demonstrating it because I'd have my main monitor, my broadcast monitor, and the VR headset all trying to work on a very inferior AMD graphics card. And I don't want to break the broadcast. So I'm not going to demonstrate VR today. I certainly will put up a video in the not too distant future which shows VR. In case you don't have VR, you're thinking about it, you just want to see a video first. I'll be able to show you what GameGuru Max VR support actually looks like. And also, just an aside, as I mentioned AMD, Preben, we all know Preben in the community now, has very kindly and brilliantly and cleverly fixed the AMD black screen crash, or black screen freeze. It was a very hidden issue. I don't think I could have found it. And yeah, it was something to do with how you prepare a certain draw call that some AMD cards are happy with, other drivers are happy with, but a certain subset and a certain scenario, it didn't like it very much and give you a black screen. So that's been fixed in the latest EXP build. So if you are suffering from that particular malady, go check out the EXP build and it will be fixed for you. So yeah, you'll be able to click Standalone and you've got a nice game project with title screens and all the screens that you've created in your storyboard, plus the ability to move between levels in a non-linear fashion. So I hope you'll be pleased to hear about that. And just to go into here a little bit, just to, not going to demonstrate, but what I can do is sort of talk, sort of a description of what it might be. Every weapon you see here, that's all of the out-of-the-box standard guns in the distance, the AKs, the combat rifles, the switchblade, the hammers, the magnum, the shotgun, the grenade. The grenade's pretty cool in VR. And also these tools. There were 3 tools. If you look in the Max collection, there's a tools folder. These are not only things you can pick up, you can actually wield them, and they are actually weapons. And also he did not forget the 3 Aztecs. And these are all what I've been using for testing, and they all work, which means you can pick them up in VR, you can attack with them, you can reload, you can switch alt modes. So some of the rifles have single fire and burst fire, those sorts of modes. You can switch between these modes. Big pile of ammo, so I can test the reload. So if you are lucky enough to have a VR headset, you will very, 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 very shortly be able to pop your headset on, click this new icon, which, just to make it a little quicker to launch GameGuru Max, most people, let's be fair, most people don't have VR. And to initialize VR takes about between 3 and 7 seconds. And you'll be subjected to that 7-second initialization on a slower computer, even if you don't have VR, which I thought was pretty unfair. So by default, we're switching it off. So if you want a VR button appearing on your UI, just go into the developer mode and there's a tick box. In fact, let me show you where it is, just for completeness. And you'll see here, VR support, ensure you've got your OpenXR runtime set up. You take this, and then every time after that you go into GameGuru Max and you do have your VR headset, you'll have your button sitting there nice and ready and waiting for you. I also removed, remember the 2 message boxes which warned you how dangerous these 2 tabs were? Everyone hates those messages. Annoying as hell, and they never went away, so they've gone. Instead, we've moved the dangers of these 2 tabs into the manual. We have now pretty much put the final touches to a 237-page GameGuru Max manual, which has been expertly edited and tested and proofread and refined by Netcrim and Tom. So thank you, Netcrim and Tom. I'm so busy in the dungeons coding that it was an enormous help for them to go through, and it's a lot of going through to make sure it reflects the latest state of the software. I know nobody really reads manuals these days, but if you want to print it out and kill a couple of trees in the process, it's 237 pages long. And finally, before we switch over to the Q&A, I was sent this not even a week ago, I want to play it now. It's an up-and-coming DLC. Yes, I know some people are groaning right now. Don't worry. All DLC done by third parties. I am not involved. It is not stealing any time away from me coding GameGuru Max. This is done by extremely talented artists who are happy to produce game-ready assets for you. So you should be happy. But let me play the video. It's pretty cool. And the first of a few in the cyberpunk and futuristic theme. So I'm really excited to see what people think of it, what they make with it, or what they make of it. I look forward to comments that I can, and certainly questions that I can answer in future broadcasts. But without further ado, let's charge straight into the live chat, see if we've got any questions for Little Old Lee. Okay, let me grab the chat window. It's not too far away. Here we go. Lovely. Okay. I'm going to scroll to the top. As I promised, I'm looking for question marks. I'm going to be ruthless. Only question marks are questions. So let's scroll down to the first of them. This is from Tom. With the crafting table lure, how do we set up craft containers? I've tried different names, but unless I start the container name with chest, nothing seems to work. Well, you've just cracked it. Start it with the word chest. So think like chest 1, chest 2, chest 3, chest hidden, chest expensive, chest treasure, chest. That's currently how the script knows how to identify that container. You might think, oh, that's a bit crude. I want to make it lots of different things. It's just an internal name. No one ever will see that name in your game. It's just for your own organisation. But after you've done CHEST, you can use any characters you want. And the reason it's done that way is it keeps it super customizable. Nothing's hard-coded. I haven't hard-coded the concept of a chest. It's simply some word that in the script you can see that it looks for chest and then it creates some containers for that. You can use the same command and look for a different word or create containers without looking for a particular word. It's entirely up to you. Kept it very flexible. We've kept it flexible just by reading the names of things, the labels of things, and you can do that through the screen editor and then pick it up again in the script to then do things with those labels that you've made. Okay, John Craft Steve asks, when will full version of GameGuru Max be released? Very soon. Okay, another question mark. This is from Lucas. Can you give me a clue of how to make a script that places a weapon on a character's hand, as in going into flashback equals add weapon? Okay, so obviously you can do character creator and then select a weapon from all the available weapons in GameGuru Max and assign it to that character. That's how you would do it. If you're asking if there's a command to force a character to have a weapon, we have lots of commands. I've been doing a lot of command work recently and I probably pushed out the entire glossary of commands. So I may not know right now whether there is such a command. I don't think there is. I don't think there's a behavior that lets you do that, you know, force a weapon onto a character in real time. So just assume for now there's no such command for it. And so there is no way to make a script. You're going to have to set up the character with the weapon at the outset. But I think you can hide and show the weapon, but it's only one weapon per character. If you want a different character with a different weapon, it's a secondary character. Raphael asks, would it be possible to add optional subtitles for players with hearing issues or just when there is dialogue between two characters in a game? That sounds like a great feature for a behaviour. If you go into the behaviour library and click people, you'll see there's already a lot of behaviours that do different things. Stand and speak, follow the player, attack, zombie mode. And I think it would just be a case of some scripts are creating an additional behaviour that, in addition to playing an audio file, you could also provide some additional text, and that text would appear as a subtitle. I think you want me down in the basement doing game engine stuff. I'm pretty sure there's a good handful of people in the community who can knock out that script relatively quickly. Okay, but yeah, it's a good idea, subtitles. Maybe in the future it's something that should be ticked on, and it does like a speech-to-text system, so you don't need to double up all of your recordings with text. Although that can lead to some very humorous misunderstandings when you try and take a WAV file and create text out of it. But the system is getting better. The technology is getting there. Morebot Gaming asks, are there plans to add a weight system to the inventory? The weight affects run walk ability. Yeah, that is... It kind of fell off the end, but it's the very next thing to do. And it's not actually that difficult to do because we've now added... we've added it because we want it to be super customizable. The idea of item attributes. And we've just stopped. I think we've got like 9 attributes now. But there's nothing to stop you going in and adding a 10th called weight, and then using that attribute in a script to then control and refine the current RPG mechanic system as to whether you can add any more items or how fast you run based on how much you're carrying, just by totting up all of the weight attributes of every item in your inventory. And all those commands actually do exist right now in Lua. It's just a case of adding a little bit to the script in order to provide that ability. If it turns out no one in the community is doing it and everyone's screaming for it, it is not a huge amount of work. I'm not saying it's the highest priority, but yeah, that's probably something that would happen in the shorter term rather than the longer term. So you don't have to hold your breath too much on that one. Scroll. Already started. Oh yeah, we have started all right. Maverick 1981 asks, will first person animatedly arms be provided once spell casting is implemented? We've got a lot of things. We've got, I know that I even demonstrated it last Wednesday, maybe it wasn't even implemented then, but we've got particle effects. So now you can actually attach particles to the spells, multiple particles in fact, and then they actually radiate out. The radius of the sort of the sphere of the spell gets bigger for area damage spells, and it all looks really cool and wonderful. There is no hands waving around doing mystical things for version 1, but again, that probably won't be too difficult once we do a little bit more with the new weapon system. There's still a few things I think that need to be added to the new weapon system, and it could be that waving arms around, because we've usually thought, oh, we need hands with something held with those hands. It never really occurred that maybe you just want the hands with no weapon and some additional animations to have them waving around. Right now, I think pretty much you get the idea when you press one of the hotkeys and this big wave of particles ensues outward and starts killing things and affecting things. You get the idea that you've just cast a spell. So it's not a deal breaker, at least for version 1. Another question. This is from No Content. How weapon import? There's no ability to import weapons easily in version 1. It is possible if you're an artist and have some technical proficiency to create your own melee weapons, and if you've got a little bit more proficiency to create projectile weapons. But if you're thinking like, I've just got this model that looks like a weapon and I want to drop it in and press a button and it's instantly a weapon, that's not going to be in GameGuru Max version 1. There's a lot of intricacies in creating a convincing first-person weapon. Question mark next is another one from Morebot Gaming. Is it possible to give special items an outline or something when the player is within proximity? I think there is. Isn't there a glow behaviour somewhere. Or maybe that was for GameGuru Classic. Yeah, I got this in my head that we've got things glowing. Now, you can outline in the editor. Maybe that's a feature we can sort of apply to some commands in Lua, so you can use the same effect to actually outline an item. But no, not for version 1. There's no outline unless you want to create your own script and do that yourself. And there's a number of ways you can do that right now. But nothing out of the box to glow an object. What you do have is when you get near the object, a prompt will appear saying that you can press E or the trigger if you're using VR to collect the weapon, and it gets added to your inventory or used right away based on how you've configured that particular object for collection. Another question. Yay for save standalones with VR. It was only a matter of time. It was only a matter of time. Okay, we've got 2 questions. This is from Era. Will there be any multiplayer for GameGuru Max? No, there will be no multiplayer for GameGuru Max version 1. Will there be any gun editor or NTT editor? And the last one, 3, will there be GameGuru Max? No plans for gun creation in GameGuru Max version 1. No entity creators in GameGuru Max version 1. And GameGuru was actually created by a third party team. GameGuru Max team did not touch it. There has been talk of a Guinea Guru. There has been talk of a GameGuru for Max, but again, it's entirely up to the third-party developers as to whether they want to create it, whether they want to finish it, how far they want to go with it, and release it as an official DLC, or whether it just gets released from their own website. There has been some controversy in the past about adding functionality to GameGuru Max and charging for it as a DLC. So it's a hot potato for us right now, so we're going to avoid selling functionality as DLC until things start calming down. Question from 3Com. Does the standalone is going to be encrypted? The current standalone export is not encrypted. At the moment, for version 1, you're going to have to find your own encryption software, which might be a good idea, actually, because not only would you be able to encrypt it, but it can reduce it to a single executable or a single installer, which is kind of what you want. Right now, we're asking people to zip up a folder and then send that folder. And when some people receive a zip, believe it or not, they don't know what to do with it. They try and run it, and strange things happen and they get confused. And there are some really nice pieces of software out there that will take a folder and its contents and crunch it down into something that's easily digestible by anyone you send your game to. Lucas says, in my computer 7 seconds is almost instantaneous. Yeah, I think 7 seconds is a reasonable amount of time to wait for GameGuru Max to launch. I think mine's is about 7 to 10 seconds. Looking for a question mark though. I think I've just accidentally... Yeah, I have, haven't I? Let me just scroll back up a little bit. Alright, yeah. I'm back on track with the next question mark. From Mickey. Do you have to have a VR set to set up a VR game? No, not at all. You could actually export your standalone, just tick the VR. You don't necessarily have to have VR, but whoever receives your game and they have VR, they'll be able to play your game experience in VR. Although I would argue that it's definitely worth testing your game in every sort of scenario that you, especially if you want to sell your game, make sure it's thoroughly tested before you sell it. So yeah, you don't want to make a game, never test it in your own lab, your own VR experience, and then put it on Steam as a VR game. That wouldn't be very advisable at all. There will be differences between a monitor-based game and a VR game in terms of its experience. Duke229 asks, when do you usually answer emails? Question mark, smiley. I have 68 emails in my inbox. The last 7 days has been absolutely frantic, and I have been very carefully delegating what emails I even read right now, and they have built up. I do answer emails relatively quickly in the past, but yeah, it's getting to crunch now, and I don't have the time to even pause and that includes answering casual emails. But hold on a bit longer. I will get through all the emails eventually, but I'm just doing it in the certain order that will help out my productivity. That's all. I'm not ignoring anyone. There's just a lot of them right now. Nightfall X asks, would there be a city generator like the terrain generator you already have? No plans to do city generator in GameGuru Max version 1. I want to see what kind of cities people create the old-fashioned way in the level editor, dropping buildings down one at a time. I dare say there are some nuances about a city generator where instead of dropping down 1,000 buildings and 10,000 side roads, you can click a button and it just procedurally generates a city. If that's something people want, maybe it's something can be done by a third party. But yeah, it probably is down on the list, an entire city generator. Blood Moon Interactive asks, have you slept much in the last couple of weeks? Thank you for all your hard work, Lee and team. The last week, not so much. I've been doing a lot of 12... Actually, last night was like a 15-hour stretch. I'm looking forward to sleep in the near future. Right now, there ain't no time for sleep. Next question from Tom. The first and last. For weight attribute, can you not just add weight to the collectible system and also change it that strength affects how much the player can carry? Not at the moment. I'm currently on VR and related animals. The attribute system has been designed in such a way you can add lots of your own attributes. We've made it very customizable for this very reason. Otherwise, we may never get off RPG. And if we just added it all in, everyone's RPG would be absolutely identical. That's why I'm making it nice and customizable so people can go off in lots of lovely different directions. Bob Desari Games asks Lee Bamba, any news on the weather system? No plans to add any more to the weather system for GameGuru Max version 1. You are currently able to do no weather. Obviously day and night settings, snow and rain. And lots of skies. That is your current weather system. No thunder, no lightning, unless you scout the community. I think a few community members have created some thunder and lightning, but not out of the box in GameGuru Max version 1. And we're scrolly all the way to the bottom, and I think that's it. No more question marks. Just scrolling up a little bit from Jaybird Max. Tanner Productions created Siniguru. Absolutely correct. I didn't want to get it wrong and just send people into a completely wrong direction. You're absolutely right. Tanner Productions produced Siniguru for GameGuru Classic, and there may be one for Max. There may be one for Max, but I'll leave it with that. Now I'm looking at the clock. I know I've been rambling on, and I think I've done pretty well. 28 minutes in, and if we can keep these broadcasts to 30 minutes, that makes you happy, me happy, and YouTube happy as well. So I think we'll leave it there. As usual, I'll be broadcasting next Wednesday at 7 p.m. GMT. If you've got any questions for me, then please write them down and join us next week and answer them. And I will answer them. Ask them early though. The earlier you ask your questions, the almost certainty you will get an answer. Asking a question after 30 minutes into the broadcast is unlikely to receive an answer, and I apologise profusely for that. So I hope you enjoyed this brief update. Everything's going really well here in the engine room. Really excited to finally be working on VR and getting it to a place where everyone can start to enjoy it. Obviously, RPG will continue to be tweaked and worked on. A lot of interest in RPG, and having used it now in the flesh, as it were, it really is a great mechanism to expand what you can do with the games you create. And I'm looking forward to seeing what you create with it in the future. So until next Wednesday at 7 p.m. GMT, I shall say goodbye. Thank you for listening, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.